you? If you do, maybe I will. No? No. Okay, so we'll see. It's a long way. Oh, is it, it needed some type of,
สุดยอดไหม
some water or?
ใส่น้ำมาแอลกอฮอล์
Wow, we solved the problem.
Make some
ถ้าเปลี่ยนเขียนไม่ได้เลยค่ะแต่นี่เป็นกอใช่ไหมใช่ไหมเปลี่ยนให้อ๋อนี่ด้วยตรงนี้
Is it water or just
แอล
water?
กอฮอล์
Oh, alcohol, that's what I thought maybe.
แอลกอฮอล์
Yeah, I don't know where that stain came from. It wasn't there a couple of weeks ago, but all of a sudden it showed up.
They have a children's class in the afternoon.
Oh, children's class,
So
maybe?
they might use the permanent thing.
Oh, right, yeah, I didn't think of that. Okay, there we go, we're all set. Good job. Thank you very much. So we were chatting the last couple days about the ceremonies coming up next week, which, as I mentioned, I don't think you were here a minute ago, there'll be no class next week here because of the holidays and the other ceremonies that are being conducted. The next class will be October 30th, Monday, October 30th. There's a Buddhist day, there's a national holiday, 2 national holidays now next week, so they decided to hold the classes off until the 30th of October.
And so sad.
Right.
So sad.
So sad. See you in Mesa, Arizona. So we'll go over some of the statements that the newspaper made about the upcoming ceremonies to see about the pronunciation in English, of course, and in vocabulary, the different vocabulary words that were used. So, and first we'll start with the headline. Okay, we'll get started here. First of all, this will be the headline in the newspaper today, and the sub-headline. So the headline read today, King maps out funeral etiquette. King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The King has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. Then the article, the news article begins. The King has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. King maps out funeral etiquette. Etiquette. Okay.
King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The King has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Right, very good. Volunteers advise volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. King maps out funeral etiquette. Okay.
King maps out funeral etiquette.
Right?
Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The King has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Right, very good. King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The King has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Okay.
King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteer to ensure all are well cared for. The King has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Ceremony, right. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The King has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint. Exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Exercise restraint. Okay.
King maps out funeral etiquette.
Etiquette, right.
Etiquette. Volunteer to ensure all are well cared for. The King advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Right, will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Royal cremation ceremony. King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The king has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Okay.
King back out funeral etiquette. Volunteer to ensure all are well cared for. The king has advised volunteer to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Right. Will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Right, very good. Exercise restraint. King maps out funeral etiquette. Funeral etiquette. Okay.
King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The king has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Very good. Will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. King maps out funeral etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The king has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Okay.
King's map of general etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. The king has advised volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Right, very good. Exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Royal cremation ceremony. You want to try it?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yes. Speaking for her? Okay. Go. You.
King met out funeral etiquette. Volunteer to ensure will care for. The king has advised volunteer to be polite and exercise
Restraint.
in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
Right. Exercise restraint in dealing with people who will participate in the royal cremation ceremony. The king maps out funeral etiquette. That is the headline in the Bangkok Post today. What does that mean? Anybody? Maps out. Well, first of all, we were talking about the current king, the king that is right now, Rama 10. Maps out. Map. To map out funeral etiquette. Etiquette means the behavior, the way you act in certain situations. There is funeral etiquette, how you act at a funeral. You could be invited to a dinner and you would be asked to follow dinner etiquette. Etiquette means how you conduct yourself in the proper way in a certain situation. Like at dinner, you would sit quietly, use your napkin, knife, fork, spoon, whatever, in a polite and neat way, not throwing things left and right and all that. No, that's not correct etiquette. Etiquette would be to follow the rules. And the king has drawn the picture. He has drawn a map, so to speak. It's just a way of expressing the term. He has outlined the etiquette that is to be followed at the funeral. How people are to act at the funeral. How you conduct yourself as a person watching the funeral. What you do and what is the proper thing to do. And what the king has done, he has described what is the proper etiquette, the proper way of conducting yourself at a ceremony such as the late king's funeral. How you conduct yourself. You must use the proper etiquette. Do the right thing. If you're eating dinner in a restaurant with 7 or 8 people at the table, you don't throw things and put things on the floor and do, no. You conduct yourself in the proper, neat, precise way. And the king is drawing a map. Let me draw you a map. Let me tell you exactly what has to be done. So in effect, he maps out or tells everyone what is the proper way, the proper etiquette, the proper way to conduct yourself at a ceremony such as the king's funeral. The etiquette. Follow the proper etiquette. Volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. Well cared for. What does that mean? Well cared for. The volunteers, the people that are going to come out on their own and volunteer to help control the crowd, which is expected to be very, very, very large. So you're going to need people, not just a few policemen, but you're going to need maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of volunteers to help contain and control the thousands and thousands of people that are going to be standing there watching the ceremony. So the volunteers, the people who have offered their time and their presence, their physical presence, to help control the crowd. Volunteers to ensure, to make certain that all the people attending the funeral are well looked after, that everything is good and calm and peaceful and there are no problems. That's the goal. The aim is to make sure everyone is well taken care of, cared for, well cared for. The king is advised, he's told the volunteers to be polite and exercise restraint in dealing with people. Exercise restraint in dealing with people. So, the volunteers, the people that are helping out at the ceremony, there's thousands of people there, and there'll be hundreds, if not thousands of volunteers, to be polite. Ma'am, over here, be very kind and helpful. Do you need should I get you a seat? Maybe you have to sit down, you're elderly or something. But you know, be kind and polite, and exercise restraint. In other words, don't be too nasty or mean. If somebody is standing in the wrong place, don't push them back. Ask them, would you please step back behind the rope? That's where we're asking the attendees to stand. Would you please stand behind the rope? In other words, don't get behind the rope, what are you doing out here?
Not polite.
Control yourself. Exercise restraint. hold yourself back. Think about it. We're trying to be polite, kind, and helpful, not ordering people, you over here, over there, you over there. No. Would you please move over here? Ma'am, would you mind going behind the rope over here? That type of thing, where you keep yourself under control. You exercise restraint. You don't lose control of yourself as a volunteer by telling people, you over here, oh, you, no. It's a funeral, let's keep it quiet, let's keep it calm, peaceful. Don't lose control. If somebody's doing something wrong, just ask them to go back or to stop doing what they're doing in a kind and polite way. Now, if they don't do it, maybe you're going to have to get 10 other volunteers to help push a little. But most times people will go back if you tell them. Exercise restraint. Don't lose control of yourself in dealing with the crowds. Sometimes that's very hard to do, depending on the crowd and the situation. Dealing with people, working with people who participate in the royal cremation ceremony. Participate in the ceremony. They're there. They are paying homage to the king at his funeral. They are participating in the royal cremation ceremony. Exercise restraint. Ensure all are well cared for. Map out funeral etiquette. Telling people, mapping out, telling people what to do in the proper way at the king's funeral. The funeral etiquette. 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 Any questions about the words? Any questions about the pronunciation? Etiquette. Volunteers. Remember the V. V. Volunteers. Exercise restraint. Participate in the royal cremation ceremony.
The maps out is one word or two words?
2 words. Maps out funeral etiquette.
This map is meaning a verb or?
In a sense, yeah. It's basically king describes funeral etiquette. In other words, the king is saying, here is what you have to do. To be a proper civilian attending the ceremony, this is what you should do. And he describes, 1, don't yell and scream. 2, wear the proper clothing. And 3 and 4 and 5 and how many ever things it is, that is the proper way to conduct yourself at the funeral. Funeral etiquette. The right things to do. Don't scream. Don't yell. Don't cause upset. Wear the proper clothing. Don't take pictures with a stand-up camera or a tripod camera or something like that. There's all kinds of rules, as I'm sure you'll find out.
It means, teacher, it means etiquette. Means you should to know what you can do and you can't do it.
Etiquette, consider it something like this. Consider it like a book, let's say, a book, that tells you what is the proper way to conduct yourself at a certain event. At a wedding, how to conduct yourself at a wedding, how to conduct yourself at a funeral, how to conduct yourself at a table with 10 people eating dinner, the proper etiquette. Usually don't use your hands, use the fork. Stuff like that, the proper etiquette. And it is just a description, as the king is mapping out, drawing a map of everything, of what you should do. This is the right way, the proper way to conduct yourself, the proper etiquette. Etiquette. Follow the proper etiquette. And in this case, King maps out funeral etiquette. You understand? You get the idea? It's more or less like a list of ways to conduct yourself at a certain event. The right thing to do. And there'll be things like you don't yell and scream at a funeral. Or you don't come in wearing a suit of a clown or something like that. You wear the proper attire for a funeral ceremony. You don't come in like it's a birthday party. You know, happy birthday to you. No, that's improper etiquette. The proper etiquette is to very respectful.
Problem, P-R-O-B-L-M.
Problem? What?
About, you said about the problem.
Problem. King describes funeral etiquette. King maps out funeral etiquette. As I mentioned, a lot of times in the headlines, they'll use these short words to keep everything very tight in the newspaper. Short. Okay?
This is
What?
why the headline King, before King know the. It's a short way. Actually, it's appropriate to have the or not.
What? The king?
The King.
Well, it may be appropriate in a way, but obviously the Bangkok Post just said King maps out.
Bangkok Post is not adequate.
Maybe it's not proper etiquette for newspapers, I don't know. That could be. Maybe they should have said His Majesty the King maps out, well, but they're not going to go all the way over.
He said the opposite of the etiquette is unetiquette. The opposite.
Unetiquette.
In or unetiquette.
I think it's
In.
Improper. I think you would have to say improper etiquette. Improper. Don't employ the improper etiquette.
Improper.
In other words, don't act in the wrong way. Improper, wrong. Unetiquette. I don't remember ever hearing inetiquette. No, I don't think so. I never heard unetiquette. No. I'm trying to think if I ever heard of it, but I would say, please do not use improper etiquette. In other words, don't act in the wrong way.
Okay.
Exercise restraint, participate. To participate is to be active with the group in a certain situation. Participate in class, ask questions. Participate in the parade, march in the parade.
Teacher volunteer to ensure.
The volunteers to ensure all are well cared for. They are to make certain that every person that is attending is taken care of. If they need a seat because they can't stand or some other reason that they have to be taken care of. In other words, maybe they're getting dizzy, they need a chair or water or something like that. To make certain, volunteers are to make sure all are cared for. To make certain, or do you need any help? Do you need any help? Do you need any help? Make sure everybody is taken care of. We just don't let them wander all over. So the volunteers will make sure that all are well cared for. To be polite and exercise restraint. Hold back. Don't lose control of yourself in the crowd. Any other questions?
Why they use exercise? Why don't they use the practicing or training?
Well, yeah. volunteers to be polite and practice restraint.
Because it's about the mind or not restraint, it's about the mind.
Restraint is, right, you have to mentally restrain yourself from being physically too active.
Oh,
So you can practice restraint. The common way that you hear about restraint is exercise restraint.